My name is Steve Jobs, and I was born on February 24th, 1955, in San Francisco, California. From the very beginning, my life was shaped by curiosity and a sense of wonder about the world. I was adopted shortly after birth by Paul and Clara Jobs, two loving parents who gave me a stable home in the quiet town of Mountain View. My father, Paul, was a skilled machinist who worked with precision tools, while my mother, Clara, encouraged my curiosity and love for learning. They told me repeatedly that I could be anything I wanted if I worked hard, stayed curious, and never gave up. This early foundation of curiosity and discipline would guide me through every challenge I faced later in life. As a child, I was always fascinated by machines. I would take apart radios, alarm clocks, and other small devices, eager to understand how they worked. Sometimes I could put them back together, and sometimes I could not. But every failure was a lesson in itself. My father would patiently explain the importance of attention to detail and quality, showing me that craftsmanship was not just about making something work, but about making it work beautifully. I remember sitting at the kitchen table for hours, trying to fit tiny gears and wires into the correct places, feeling a thrill whenever something sparked to life. That feeling of creating something functional from nothing became addictive. It was more than play. It was learning, exploring, and discovering all at the same time. In high school, I met Steve Wozniak, a brilliant young engineer who shared my passion for electronics. Wozniak was unlike anyone I had ever met. He had a natural talent for invention and a playful approach to solving complex problems. Together, we spent countless hours in my family garage, experimenting with circuits, computers, and homemade gadgets. We soldered wires, built small machines, and imagined the future possibilities of technology. Those long hours of collaboration taught me a critical lesson. Great innovation often comes from combining technical skill with creativity and vision. Little did I know that this partnership would later become the foundation of Apple, a company that would change the world. School was never easy for me in a traditional sense. I struggled with rigid schedules, rules, and structured learning. I often felt restless sitting in classrooms, longing to explore ideas on my own. However, my passion for electronics and design gave me purpose. I would skip certain classes to visit the library or spend time building circuits in the garage. I read about physics, electronics, and design principles on my own, absorbing knowledge in a way that felt natural and exciting. I was developing both technical skills and an instinct for design, even before I fully understood how these two worlds could merge. That instinct would later define my approach to product creation. After high school, I attended Reed College in Oregon, a school known for its progressive and intellectual environment. I did not stay long. I dropped out after a single semester because the traditional college path did not fit my restless mind. However, I remained on campus informally, attending classes that intrigued me. I studied calligraphy, typography, and art, subjects that seemed unrelated to computers at the time. Little did I know that learning about beautiful lettering and design would influence the way I envisioned the Macintosh years later. These experiences taught me that creativity and technology are deeply connected, and that innovation often comes from combining ideas across fields, even if they seem unrelated at first. During my college years, I also explored spirituality and self-discovery. I traveled to India in search of enlightenment, looking for clarity and simplicity. I spent time meditating, reflecting on life, and learning to focus my energy on what truly mattered. The lessons I learned in India were surprisingly practical. I realized that simplicity and focus were not just philosophical concepts. They could guide decision-making, design, and even leadership. These experiences helped me understand that life is not only about creating products or achieving success, but also about finding meaning and connecting deeply with what you care about. Returning to California, I reunited with Steve Wozniak, and we began working on electronics projects more seriously. We built small devices, circuit boards, and gadgets, selling them to friends and local businesses. But soon, our ambitions grew. We wanted to create something revolutionary, personal computers that were accessible to everyone, not just engineers. The idea of a computer in every home seemed impossible to some, but to us, it was inevitable. We spent long nights in the garage, designing, building, and experimenting, fueled by coffee, curiosity, and a shared vision. Every failure was a lesson. Every success was a spark of motivation. My personality was already emerging as intense, sometimes difficult, but incredibly focused. I was obsessed with perfection, believing that every detail mattered. I argued with Wozniak over minor design choices because I wanted the final product to be flawless. Some people found my intensity challenging, but I believed that passion and attention to detail were essential for creating truly revolutionary products. I learned early that vision alone is not enough. You also need determination, patience, and the willingness to push yourself and others beyond comfort zones. The journey to innovation is never easy, and I was learning that lesson day by day. By the late 1970s, our efforts began to attract attention. We were building computers in a garage, but we dreamed of creating something larger, something that could change the world. The excitement, the uncertainty, and the endless experimentation all taught me resilience. I learned that failure was not a dead end, but a step toward growth. Every misstep in design or production revealed insights that would inform our next attempt. It was a slow process, but one filled with creativity, energy, and hope. At that moment, we did not know the impact our tiny garage would eventually have, but we could feel that something extraordinary was possible. Looking back, I realized that the early years of my life shaped everything that came after. My curiosity, my love of electronics, my fascination with design, and my intensity to achieve perfection all came together during those formative experiences. The lessons learned in the garage, in college, and during my travels became the foundation for Apple and my approach to innovation. Even in failure and uncertainty, there was always an underlying belief that technology could improve lives, inspire creativity, and connect people in ways previously unimaginable. Those early sparks of curiosity and ambition were the beginning of a journey that would transform not only my life, but the world. After months of experimenting in the garage with Steve Wozniak, we finally had something tangible, a computer that could be used at home. We called it the Apple One. Unlike the large, expensive computers in research labs, our machine was compact, affordable, and designed to be accessible. We wanted people who had never seen a computer before to be able to turn it on and use it. The idea excited me. I could feel that we were on the verge of something big. Wozniak built the circuits, and I focused on design, presentation, and selling the concept. Together, we complemented each other perfectly. We displayed the Apple I at local computer clubs and small electronics shows. People were curious, but many were skeptical. Computers at the time were still mysterious and intimidating to the general public. Our machine, however, was different. It had a personality, a charm, and a simplicity that people could understand. Watching someone turn it on for the first time and realize that it worked amazed me. I felt a rush of satisfaction, a sense that our hard work was finally paying off. I knew that this was only the beginning. If the Apple I could captivate a small audience, the Apple II could captivate the world. With early sales and some investment from local backers, we began developing the Apple II. This machine was revolutionary. It was color-capable, expandable, and could run a variety of programs. I insisted that it look beautiful, that every detail of the casing, keyboard, and display be perfect. Some people thought I was obsessed, but I believed that design was just as important as function. I wanted technology that not only worked, but also inspired and delighted the user. The Apple II became a huge success, and suddenly, we were no longer just two young men in a garage. Apple Computer Inc. had become a real company, growing faster than we could imagine. Despite the excitement, building Apple was not easy. We faced technical challenges, production delays, and management issues. I quickly learned that leading a company meant more than designing products. I had to negotiate with investors, handle conflicts, and make difficult decisions about hiring and firing. I was passionate but demanding, and not everyone appreciated my intensity. Some employees found me difficult, insisting on perfection in every detail. Others admired my vision and drive. I realized that leadership required balance, patience, and the ability to inspire others while pushing them beyond their comfort zones. During this time, I became fascinated by the idea of the graphical user interface. I had seen early versions of a computer screen that used icons, windows, and a mouse, developed at Xerox PARC. Most people didn't understand its potential, but I could see the future clearly. Computers could become intuitive, approachable, and even beautiful. I became obsessed with bringing this technology to personal computers, believing that it would change the way people worked, created, and communicated. This vision would later shape the Macintosh and define a new era of computing. The journey to create the Macintosh was intense. I surrounded myself with a team of designers and engineers who shared my passion for perfection. We experimented endlessly with software, hardware, and aesthetics. I pushed the team hard, often to exhaustion, but I believed that extraordinary products required extraordinary effort. Some days were frustrating, filled with disagreements and mistakes. Other days were thrilling as ideas began to take shape and prototypes came alive. I learned that innovation required not just creativity, but also resilience, courage, and an unwavering belief in what was possible. In 1984, we finally unveiled the Macintosh. I remember standing backstage, heart pounding, as the audience watched the famous 1984 commercial during the Super Bowl. The Macintosh was more than a computer. It was a statement. It represented creativity, design, and the belief that technology could empower individuals. The launch was dramatic, exciting, and nerve-wracking. People were inspired by the concept of a personal computer that was approachable, elegant, and powerful. I felt proud, but I also knew that the path ahead would be filled with competition, criticism, and challenges that we had not yet imagined. Despite the initial success, I faced growing conflicts within Apple. My management style, though driven by passion, often clashed with executives and board members. Decisions about direction, product design, and marketing caused tension. I was ambitious and wanted Apple to set the standard for innovation, sometimes pushing the company in directions that others found risky or unrealistic. My intensity and perfectionism led to disagreements, and eventually, the board made a decision that changed my life. I was forced out of the company I had co-founded. It was a bitter and painful moment, filled with a sense of loss, disappointment, and reflection. Leaving Apple felt like losing a part of myself, but it also marked the beginning of a new chapter. After leaving Apple, I founded a new company called Next, focused on high-end computers for education and business. The challenge was different, but I approached it with the same intensity and vision. I wanted to create machines that were innovative, elegant, and designed with purpose. At Next, I experimented freely with software design, user experience, and hardware integration. It was a smaller company, but the lessons learned there about leadership, design, and innovation would later shape Apple when I returned. I realized that setbacks could be opportunities if approached with focus, determination, and creativity. During this period, I also acquired the computer graphics division of Lucasfilm, which eventually became Pixar. At first, it was a side project, a curiosity, but it soon became clear that animation could be transformed using technology. I encouraged the team to dream bigger, focus on storytelling, and push the boundaries of what was possible. Pixar eventually created its first feature-length film, Toy Story, revolutionizing animation. I learned an important lesson during this time. Innovation is not limited to one industry. Creativity, vision, and technology could come together to transform any field, whether computers or animation. This experience taught me patience, collaboration, and the value of empowering others to achieve excellence. Looking back at the rise of Apple and my work at Next and Pixar, I realized that the journey was never straightforward. There were moments of exhilaration, moments of doubt, and moments of failure. Yet every step, every challenge, and every victory built the foundation for the next chapter. The early years taught me that vision alone is not enough. Success requires persistence, adaptability, and the courage to take risks. More importantly, I learned that technology could be a force for change, not just in business, but in the lives of individuals and society as a whole. By the end of this period, I was no longer just a young engineer tinkering in a garage. I had experienced the highs of launching revolutionary products, the lows of being forced out of my own company, and the thrill of building something entirely new. These experiences prepared me for a return to Apple, where the lessons of design, vision, and resilience would converge to create some of the most iconic products in the world. The rise of Apple was not just about computers. It was about ambition, passion, and the belief that technology could be a tool for human creativity and expression. And this belief would guide the next stage of my journey. After years of learning, experimenting, and building other ventures, I returned to Apple in 1997. The company I had co-founded was struggling, facing declining sales, outdated products, and a sense of lost direction. It was a challenge, but I was determined. I believed that Apple could not only survive, but also redefine technology for the world. My vision was clear: create products that were simple, beautiful, and intuitive, products that anyone could use and love. I knew this approach would require radical decisions, tough leadership, and unwavering attention to detail, but it was a challenge I was ready to face. One of the first projects I focused on was the iMac. The previous designs were uninspired, cluttered, and confusing for users. I insisted that the iMac be colorful, elegant, and simple. We experimented with different shapes, materials, and colors, aiming for a product that would feel alive and approachable. The process was intense. I pushed the team relentlessly, demanding perfection, and sometimes clashing with engineers and designers over details that seemed small but mattered greatly to the final experience. When the iMac launched in 1998, it was a sensation. People were captivated not just by its performance, but by its personality. It felt personal, cheerful, and revolutionary. The success of the iMac restored Apple's reputation and proved that design, simplicity, and creativity could be a company's greatest strength. At the same time, I focused on building a culture at Apple that encouraged innovation, risk-taking, and excellence. I wanted every employee to understand that we were not just making products, we were shaping the future. I encouraged curiosity, experimentation, and bold thinking. We faced failures along the way, such as the Newton device, which did not meet expectations, but each mistake taught us lessons that informed future innovations. I believed that to create truly remarkable products, one had to combine technology with artistry, function with elegance, and ambition with humility. This philosophy became Apple's signature approach, setting it apart from every other technology company. In the early 2000s, we launched the iPod, a product that changed the music industry forever. It was a small device, simple to use, yet it completely transformed the way people experienced music. I insisted on clean design, intuitive controls, and seamless integration with software, believing that user experience should be central to every product. Watching people interact with the iPod for the first time was inspiring. They could carry thousands of songs in their pocket, explore new music, and organize it effortlessly. This was more than technology. It was empowerment. I realized that simplicity and focus could turn even small devices into revolutionary tools that could reshape entire industries. The next major milestone was the iPhone. In 2007, we introduced a device that combined a phone, music player, camera, and internet browser in a single interface. I envisioned a product that was so intuitive that users would interact with it naturally, without instruction manuals. The development process was grueling. We worked for years in secrecy, testing interfaces, refining gestures, and eliminating unnecessary buttons. I pushed the team to obsess over every detail, from the feel of the glass to the responsiveness of the touchscreen. When the iPhone finally launched, it was clear that we had created more than a device. We had created a platform for communication, creativity, and innovation. The iPhone revolutionized how people lived, worked, and connected with the world, fulfilling a vision I had nurtured for decades. Around the same time, we introduced the iPad, the App Store, and a host of software innovations that expanded the reach of technology. I focused not only on hardware, but on the ecosystem that would allow our devices to thrive. It was not enough to build powerful machines. We needed software, services, and tools that enabled users to explore, create, and solve problems. I often emphasized the importance of storytelling in technology. Products should not only work, but also inspire. Every launch event, every keynote, and every advertisement told a story about creativity, design, and possibility. These principles defined Apple's approach and created a loyal following of users who believed in our vision. Despite the enormous success, life was not without challenges. I faced health problems that threatened my ability to lead. I underwent treatments, surgeries, and periods of uncertainty, yet I remained focused on Apple's mission. I continued to work tirelessly, meeting with designers, engineers, and executives, ensuring that every product aligned with our vision. I learned that resilience, focus, and a clear purpose are essential not only in business, but in life itself. I wanted to leave a company that could thrive beyond my presence, a company that embodied creativity, excellence, and the courage to innovate. Looking back, I realized that my journey was never simply about technology. It was about combining art and science, function and beauty, ambition and purpose. From the early days in a garage to the launch of the iPhone, every challenge, every failure, and every success contributed to a larger vision. I understood that innovation is a process of curiosity, experimentation, and relentless pursuit of excellence. It requires believing in what seems impossible, taking risks, and trusting your instincts even when others doubt you. I hope that my story inspires others to pursue their passions, embrace creativity, and challenge the limits of what is possible. I also hope my journey teaches a simple lesson. The products we create can influence lives profoundly. Technology is not just about efficiency or speed. It is about enabling people to communicate, create, and explore. Every device we built at Apple, from the Macintosh to the iPhone, was designed to empower people, to give them tools for imagination and expression. The true measure of innovation is not in profits or recognition, but in the impact it has on human experience. I wanted to create tools that would leave a lasting mark on the world, tools that people could love and remember long after they were built. Now, as I reflect on my life, I see a journey defined by curiosity, creativity, and vision. From a boy taking apart electronics in a garage to leading one of the most innovative companies in the world, every step was shaped by persistence, focus, and passion. I hope my story inspires learners not only to pursue their own dreams, but also to see the value of creativity, resilience, and collaboration. Life is full of opportunities for discovery, and those who remain curious and committed can shape the future in ways they never imagined. The lessons of perseverance, design, and belief in the impossible are timeless and universal. If you enjoyed learning about the life of Steve Jobs, and if you want to improve your English while hearing inspiring stories from the world of business, creativity, and innovation, I invite you to visit my YouTube channel, Listen and Learn English. On this channel, you can explore stories like this one, practice listening skills, learn new vocabulary, and understand real-life lessons in a fun and engaging way. Each story is narrated slowly and clearly, making it perfect for English learners at Level 3 and Level 4. Remember to subscribe to Listen and Learn English and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that can teach both life lessons and English. You can listen, repeat, and even take notes while following along. The more you practice, the faster your English will improve, all while enjoying meaningful, emotional, and educational stories.